Hi, welcome to the Brewbrain and Ølbrygging webinar where we present Brewbrain and what we do. I'm Eric, again welcome. So in this webinar I'll give a small introduction about Brewbrain, what the company does, what the products they make, and I'll go into one of the products that we are currently selling, its future developments, what other future developments we have for other products. And if at any time during this webinar you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. You can post them on Facebook and they'll either get answered by the rest of the team, by Olbrygging or with Brewbrain, or they'll end up on my screen eventually. And that might be at the end of the presentation. But please don't hesitate to pose any questions. Brewbrain. So we're a company, we started 2-3 years ago, and we develop multiple sensors. So our passion is for developing sensors and eventually products. We also have some affinity with brewing. Well, if you combine those two, you get brewing sensors. So, and that's where we kind of started. We all have a background for the technical department from developing electrical sensors and hooking it up to devices. And together with the whole company, that ends up into this product here. So, as I said, we have one product at the moment, and our main focus is to, for the brewing industry, to make products that make brewing easier, more fun, and also give more insight. One of the things that I think is a more old-fashioned approach for brewing is where you measure from time to time, and for us, well, maybe old-fashioned is the wrong word. For us technical guys, we want more data all the time because that enables you to look back at what you actually did and to evaluate. And evaluating what you did is a very important part of making good beers. Well, at least if you want to make them again. So our focus is really to take away all the obstacles you can come across during brewing and just make it easier for you as a brewer to get the best brew. So a little introduction about our first product. You might either know us or not know us, but the only product we have right now in the store is the float. And the float is, as you can see, it's an electrical device, and what it does is you put it into your fermenter and it will float at an angle, which is why we call it a float. And that angle will tell us what density it is floating in. And what that does is that it enables the user to see how fermentation is going. So you can actually track when you start brewing how your fermentation starts at a high SG and goes down to a lower SG. It also has a temperature sensor integrated into it, which you cannot see because, well, small components, but this also enables you to track the temperature of your brew at any time. As fermenting temperatures are very important also to get a good grip of how fermentation is going. You don't want it to be too low or too high. And one of the things that you can do with this is check that as well. The float comes packaged in a nice cardboard box, and you can actually see the float inside through it. I'll open one here so you get an idea. We also provide a spare lid in case, I don't know, you should step on it or something else should happen and breaks. Spare lid is always nice. And the actual float that comes out there itself, pretty much the same as I just showed you. And we also have a little card inside which tells you what the link is to the float manual. And on our website you will find not only the instructions on how to get everything set up, but you can find more troubleshooting guides or even guides to get you started. The float comes packed also with a free account for our website, which should always be free, and you can have multiple floats attached to it. On our website you can view your brewing data at any time. So all the data that this device records is sent to our servers and it's put on our website, and pretty much all you have to do is log in and you can view your brewing data. The brewing data is, as I said, is sent to our website, and I'll give you a small sneak view of what we currently have. So here you see a simple view of our website in its current form. We have a couple of graphs here. At the top there's a temperature graph. Below that we show specific gravity, and below that we show the battery voltage, because it has a battery, and as electronics do in batteries can go empty, so it's good to monitor that as well. For this brew, specific one, you can see that it starts at a high SG. It may not be readable on screen. It's about 1.048, and then at the end it gets close to 1 is what I'm seeing here, so an SG of 1. And this is actually what we created the float for, is to get an idea of what's happening overall during your fermentation. So you can actually see how it's quite smoothly actually here going down to an equal or an equilibrium or an passive state where fermentation is finished. And also the temperature is logged above, so you can see what the temperature has done. Now this also enables you to check if anything weird is happening. Say that the temperature rises really quickly, or actually drops really quickly, or maybe your fermentation isn't starting at all. This is all visible because you have a graph which shows you the development over time. I'll come back to the layout later on. I'll tell you a little bit more about our float as a product. So when we created this device, we had a few things in mind. First of all, for us ourselves, we like making nerdy stuff, like making electronic sensors, but for the average user, even if they like that, we think if we sell a product, it should be easy to use. And so that's why we went for a plug-and-play approach. So when you buy the float, as I mentioned, you can get a free account even without the Brewbrain Float, but you can get a free account on our website, my.brewbrain.nl, and it will connect to that. And so setup is also quite easy. The device uses Wi-Fi, and what that enables you is to grab your phone, and you have your float. You put the float into setup mode. It will send out its own wireless access point. You connect with your phone to the float. You can set it up for registration, register it on, if you already have a Brewbrain account, to that email address, or a different one if you like. And if all goes well, you will see that registration is succeeded, and you can put the float into measure mode. And once in measure mode, if you start a brew on our website, the float will start measuring or sending data to that brew, and you can see what is going on. So the plug-and-play approach is really just get your phone and, well, buy the float of course first, get your phone, and you should be good to go within 5 minutes. And one of the things that we thought would be very useful is that it uses Wi-Fi, since everyone has Wi-Fi at home. And also, I'm not sure if this is very visible, but it has a micro USB plug, which probably most phone owners have, so you can charge it with just your phone charger. That eliminates the for us to actually have to supply an extra charger for the device, and I mean that's just bad for the, well, let's just say for the world and probably a lot of electronics which you don't need, and it saves you money. So the whole idea is no extra devices, use your home Wi-Fi and get started really quickly. And as I said, we have a rechargeable battery in there, so this should keep you logging for a long time. Even if you don't want to charge it somehow, it should give you logging half a year or something at 50-minute intervals. We calibrate each device individually at our factory. So if at any time you receive the float, you can check it in water, but you don't have to calibrate yourself because it's good to go in that way. Also, each float has a unique serial number, which is handy for us when we need to communicate with you. If you have any questions, okay, it's out of focus because this camera likes my head a lot more. Yeah, so you get a serial number on there. If you have any questions or if we need to contact you for any reason, you can use that. As I also mentioned, the platform we have is free, so our whole idea is that next to the plug-and-play part of the whole product, at the moment we're doing very well, so we're developing a lot of new products, but if at any time we as a company should feel. We believe that our product should still work. So if somehow we cannot support the whole business anymore, we will find a way to get the product logging open source. But for now, well, it doesn't seem like we have to go that way, luckily. So that's the float in general. Really short recap of that. Plug and play, your own Wi-Fi, your own charger. You don't need any other device than the float to start logging your fermentation. I'll just flip back to the graph I showed you earlier. So again here, as I said, the data is sent to our website. You can make many more brews. I'm not sure, yeah, you can't see my mouse right now. But in the top we have brews, which shows you all your current and old brews. So all your data is saved. It's also securely saved, so only you can access it. But if you want other peers to look with you, or just view your brew, you can make it public, or you can actually make it public to only your friends on the Brewbrain website. We also have this little tab, My Floats, where, well, if you use more floats, you can get an overview of all your floats, some more user panel with information, and of course, frequently asked questions or help. All data is available for download as a CSV file, which can be shown at the bottom here. And you can add comments to your brew at any time, even hover over a specific point in the brew and add a comment at that point. So, back to my... What we also have achieved recently is we know we're not the only platform out there, and a lot of brewers use more products from different firms, and they want to see the data maybe in a different view or integrated with other things. So we have recently integrated with Brewfather and Grainfather, and I can show you a quick sneak peek of what that looks like. Pretty much means that our data can be accessible via our API, and well, we choose who we partner with. So it's not open to the public, to anyone just yet, since we want to make sure everything is secure, because your data has to be secure with us. And I'll show you what that can look like. So here's an example from Brewfather. If you know the interface, it will be easier for you to view, and otherwise I'll go through it a little easier. So here we have the Brewfather interface. So this is external software for viewing all your brewing data, and this is especially helpful if you want well, different devices logging, or you have some other inputs you need to gather together with the data from the float. And here you can see one of our floats attached to the integration. So in the graph, you have the little logo from Brewbrain, and you see the red line and the blue line, and the blue line is the temperature, and the red line is the specific gravity from your brew. So it's not that different from what you can see with us, but you have some extra options here. Yeah. If you have any questions about integrations, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can also, again, post some questions via Facebook. And the other integration, I have a mobile example for that. So this is for Grainfather. This is the mobile view. And here also you see how we've integrated with their platform. Of course, a different look there again. And here you see the temperature and gravity data coming through. So that's in short about the float. We have some more developments for the float, and what we've seen, a lot of users asked us about calibration, if they can introduce their own offsets. So some users might prefer a specific, for water example, that it has an exact SG of 1, and we will be introducing offset mode quite shortly. So this is for the brewers out there who want to have to control the calibration offsets. We also have a development for a new website. So that will be, I'll just show you a screenshot from our old website. And what we want to deliver with our new website is actually the same vision that we have for the Float, but then newer. So we also want easy to operate, a better user interface, more mobile experience, because we have also heard from users that they use the product on their mobile phone, the web interface. And we have a customizable dashboard for that. So I'll give you a small sneak preview of what that can look like. So here is a sneak preview. Also, it shows our new logo, which is the brain for Brewbrain. On the right, you will see you have what we aim for at the interface for the phone. So when you connect to the Float, we want to make that a little bit more shiny and also more easy. And then you have on the big laptop screens, you can get an idea of what that looks like for our main website. It says on the top our products, so I'll get back to you about that. As I mentioned earlier, we want to introduce more products than just the Float. So here's an example from our dashboard view. This is for the my.brewbrain.nl website. Again, what we're aiming for is user friendliness. So if you remember our website from before, the graphs, we want it to be, as a dashboard, you need to have it, well, easily accessible. So the first thing you land on our website will be recognition of how your own brew is doing. On the right, you can see some popular brews from other users or from users that we want to put in the spotlight because they have something interesting. We also have some news feed there where we might talk about our new products and improvements. And overall, the idea here is that you can reorganize your whole dashboard. So if you do not want all this, or if you even just want one view from one brew on your dashboard, you can do that. And the other idea is to make it that you can put it on full screen mode. So if you have a tablet or anything like that, which you would like to put next to your fermentation station, you can have the temperature and fermentation readings and SG readings visible at all times. So that will give you a more constant and easy to view information of what the situation is within your fermentation. And on the left, don't want to dive into it too deep, but what we're aiming for is to also build a community where, because we see it as we have some information, we can give you information regarding data of your brews, and we do know stuff about brewing, but we're definitely not the best guys out there. There are a lot of smart people who like brewing, and we think the best way to learn is to learn from each other. So you can share your own thoughts. If you see something within a brew where you think, hey, why is the temperature always dropping at this point, or I use this type of grains and this is happening, you can talk about it together and discuss. And we hope that that enables users to help each other develop their brewing skills. And what we really think is that we come from as I mentioned, we come from the sensors, from the data side. And combining data, especially in a graph form, gives a lot more insight. And so we want to enable this discussion between brewers with the data they have gathered. And we think that that's a really nice tool to evaluate the process of brewing. And hopefully, of course, to get better beers. And as I mentioned earlier, we're integrating. So at this point, we have the integration with Grainfather and Brewfather set up. And on the left, you can see this case, the puzzle logo, which should indicate that. And overall, this is just a new view from our website, and to make it clean and easy accessible. This is a view from the graphs, also a fresh look, I think. And on the right, you can post comments about the brew. At the bottom, you have the integrations again and the data, which you can export to various formats. At the top, you can see, in this case, a heartbeat, which tells you when your last measurement has come through. And of course, you can hover over each data point just to see what it's like. And now back to the... So that's what's developing for our website. And next to all the features we have within the looks, we also want to develop more on the calculations for the website. So as I mentioned, offsets, but also stuff like fermentation, alcohol percentages, and there's many more things, but we want to be able to add those features. And as I said, these features we're doing so that you buy the float, and the website interface is for free, so there's no extra payments there. And this is actually this is part of the product. So the float is not the only product you get when you buy the float. The product is also the experience online and the backup of your data. I want to talk about another product we are introducing soon. We've been working on for a while. This is a prototype I have with me. We call it a neuron at the moment, and what it does is you can put multiple sensors, temperature sensors into there. So they look like this. And this will be all food grade temperature sensors, so no plastics leaking into your product, of course, very important. It has to be safe. And we have these connectors, and you can just put them into this box and then measure multiple temperature points. So the reason you can measure more points is that when you match, or even when you start fermenting, if your kettle is very, very large, you will have temperature differences which can be quite large. Of course, with a small vessel or a fermentation vessel or a meshing system, the temperatures can also vary a lot. So the idea is that you will be able to measure at multiple points, or if you have a small kettle or you think one point is good enough, you can also decide to put a sensor in multiple kettles at the same time. It has a little raster here, so the device itself is equipped with a temperature and humidity sensor, which is for room temperature and room humidity. So you can actually monitor the room temperature. And one of the things to keep in mind is that when you have a kettle running, or if you have a brew running, if you're mashing, and you're doing this in a shed, and the shed is very cool, especially for your brews, this might influence the temperature. So you can use that as an indication to, well, maybe see if it's not so smart to start mashing somewhere on the North Pole, or something like that. It's powered by a micro USB adapter, the same as the float itself, which you can charge with that adapter. And setup should be the same as the float. So the neuron. And then I think it's time to go to the questions. So if I'm right, there should be some questions ready for me. So one of the first questions on the list is about the Ice Spindle. So the question here is, how is it different from the Ice Spindle? And that's of course referring to our float. So what the Ice Spindle does, we started out with an Ice Spindle. We have a few ourselves, and we really like it. But as I said, what we want for a user is not to have to set up everything themselves. I mean, a lot of users like this, like the approach of do it yourself, but we think it should be an out-of-the-box experience. So what we do is we have a product where if you use your phone, you connect it, and it's connected to our website, and you get the data on our website. And other products like the Ice Spindle require you to set up an account on a website which is not affiliated with the product itself. So if at any time they change how they transfer data to each other, that might be a problem. So our thing is just have a plug and play product. Also, we do factory calibration. So for the Ice Spindle you and other sensors too, you might have to calibrate at home. And we use laboratory equipment with known references to get a calibrated sensor to you. And we have, of course, the free Brewbrain account, so free logging. You can download the data whenever you want. You don't have to worry about backups because that's what we do for you. We also have a remote diagnostics, so if you have a problem, we will try to help you as best as we can. So we do a lot of customer support if that's needed. And of course, you have the we're based in the Netherlands, so you get a 2-year warranty, and that's what we, of course, provide worldwide. We also have a updating system, so if at any time we find improvements for the product, or if something, if we want to update the product, we can send a firmware update to the product, of course with if the user agrees to that, and that can be done via Wi-Fi, so we also provide updates with our products. And again, as I said, the Brewbrain account, which is free at all times. You don't have to buy a float to get a free Brewbrain account, but it's unlimited, a lifetime free account. So if anything happens, you will always be able to view it. The next question. So I got a question about someone asking, how does the float handle fermentation under pressure and silence fermenters like a unitank, like a radio reception? It's also a question we got at the beginning. If you use a stainless fermenter, actually anything metal, metal objects and water will reduce Wi-Fi signal strength. So what we always advise our users to place their product close to the router. But we have a lot of users out there who are using our product within a stainless fermenter with double layered even, or even a fermenter in a fridge. And that seems to go quite well. And I think the thing to keep in mind is that you should just be close to the router when possible and not have any obstacles in the way. So place your fermenter near an access point. Sometimes you have bad reception, but you can overcome that with a Wi-Fi extender. Our sensors themselves, they are tested according to the IP67 standard, which means pretty much that they're watertight to at least 1 meter depth for half an hour. In short, if you, it should be watertight if you put it into your brew, and that's what it is. About the question regarding the fermentation under pressure, so we've tested it and should be able to withstand the pressure of up to 1.1 bar above atmospheric pressure. So you can use it in fermentation under pressure. We haven't had reports of failures above those pressures, and we are still researching what it might do. But as far for the 1.1 bars, we can guarantee that, which translates to 16 psi. The question, so is there a Brewfather and Grainfather integration? So in case you missed this, yes, we integrate with Brewfather and Grainfather, and you can set this up yourself on your my.brewbrain account. And you will need a separate Brewfather integration, but instructions are provided on our website, and if you need support for that, just contact us. Is it possible to use the float locally without a web service? So direct from a local install, for example. So at the moment we do not. Float is not usable without the web service we provide. But that's also because the web service allows us to do remote diagnostics, and we back up your data for you and make it accessible for you. We are always listening, so if there's a high demand for making the float data available without connection to the internet, we can look further into that. But at the moment, that's not possible yet. Nice, another question. So we just had a question about the Ice Spindle, which is a product in the same same principle as the float. And now we get a question about the plateau airlock. So for those out there who don't know, plateau airlock is also a product which can monitor fermentation. It's out there for a few years, if I'm correct. Also a nice product. And so how does it differ? Well, we use a fundamentally different measurement principle than the plateau airlock. As it says, it's an airlock, and it monitors the amount of CO2 released during fermentation. But this will also depend on your fermenter, so how large is the fermenter, and maybe the pressure outside. So there are different factors affecting the accuracy of that product. And the float is different because it's not influenced by the size of your fermentation vessel. We also measure the temperature of your worts, and so again, you might probably not see it, but at the end here at the bottom we have a temperature sensor which is quite accurate, and because it's floating in the fermenting liquid itself, it gives you a real good indication of the temperature in the brew. And as I mentioned earlier with the neurons, so the upcoming product where you can attach multiple sensors, we've actually had a brewery discover that their highest temperature and their lowest temperature within their fermentation vessel differ 10 degrees Celsius, so centigrades. So that's a lot. So that's just to say how useful it can be to also monitor temperature with the sensor. And the plateau does not measure temperature directly into your worts. So at the moment I don't have any new questions here, but I just wanted to mention that if you have any features that you find lacking, or you need more information from the float, or you have a nice idea for improvements, don't hesitate to contact us. Of course, you can find all our details on our website, www.brewbrain.no. But also you can mail to us support@brewbrain.no if you have any questions. And a small note again. So as I said, we have a background in making sensors, and we have a real passion for making sensors and also for brewing and making great products. We really like what we're doing. It's very exciting, and but we also believe that if you buy a product from us, it should work, even if we somehow, if this all goes wrong. So if the company somehow fails, we find ourselves obligated out of that's just how we are. We want to make the product work without the company still alive. So if we fail somehow, we will make sure that the data, the website, the whole server is still running, and we'll find some way to get that as a free service running endlessly. Well, hopefully as long as the Earth still lasts. But no, so we really want to assure that if you buy this product, you can trust that you will be able to view it for many, many years of what your brewing is doing. So let me check if there is another question. So there's a question about the logging interval. The float measures every 15 minutes, and the question is, can I change that? Can I make more? Can I get more data? At this moment, we do not support quicker log intervals, mostly because of that will add traffic to the website, but also you won't see that much more data. Is what we found from all our log tests. Also, the battery life will, of course, degrade because the more the time the sensor is on, the quicker your battery will drain. But at the moment, we're looking at the battery in there. It's a lithium-ion battery used in those electrical cars. And this should last a half a year when it's fully charged and logging every 15 minutes. If you have a bad Wi-Fi connection, that may shorten the time between recharges, because if your connection is poor, it will need more power to connect. But then again, a good advice is at any time, if you're using a device and if you're able to move your router, always have just the float or the fermentation is closest to your router. So I guess it's with any device at home, you just want to have a good connection to your Wi-Fi. And again, about the logging interval, the 15 minutes should be very accurate 15-minute logging interval, because fermentation is quite a slow process. So it would be really weird to measure every second, for example. So 15 minutes, we found that that shows you very good data of your brew and ensures that you won't have to charge it all the time. But if you, for your purpose, find that you want to log at different intervals, just let us know. I mean, if that's a feature request, we can see what we can do. So I think that's at the moment all the questions I've been posed here. Yeah, so at the moment I don't have any questions anymore, so please don't hesitate to pose more questions, because I've still got some time. And maybe I'll get back to the website for just a minute now. So again, here a quick view of what our website will be looking like. Again, keep in mind this website is in development, so it might change a little bit. But the whole idea here is to have a dashboard view for your products. So when you connect the float, when you log into a website, and you can stay logged in the future website, you will be able to see the brewing data quite quickly without having to navigate through the website. And again, the whole view is to make a community, so you can discuss what you're learning, what you're seeing from your brews, from your brewing data, to share and grow together in this whole world of brewing beers. So, since there are no questions anymore, I want to thank you very much for your time. I hope you've gained some insight into what we do as a company, and I hope to invite you to look into our new products. And if you have any questions, again, just send us an email, because we really like the feedback that we're getting from customers and how we can keep improving this product to help you get a better brewing experience. So thanks again, and see you at our next webinar.